Hello, and today I'm going to be going through my build in Umbraco, just along with a little bit of a description about what's going on and why I've chosen to use this particular CMS. So Umbraco is something that I've wanted to use for a while now, as I've been using WordPress as a CMS for many years, and I wanted to try something a little bit different, something with a bit more flexibility. I love WordPress, it's fantastic, but in terms of from a development perspective, it can be a little bit limited at times. So I wanted to learn something a little bit more hands-on, I guess you could say, so I took up Umbraco. So the idea here was to create a very simple single-page website and to just get a feel for how things worked. And I started studying this yesterday, and I picked this up today and started to build something with my pre-existing knowledge of code. Now, I'm at a slight advantage because I already know about ASP.NET, I know about Model View Controller, I know about Razor Views, I know C#. So a lot of the syntax, and obviously I also know HTML and CSS, so a lot of the syntax is something I'm already very familiar with. So in order to pick this up, it really was just taking all the knowledge I had and combining it together. But the CMS is very user-friendly and will create a lot of those Razor Views and things. You just have to go along and know the nuts and bolts. So yeah, that's what I did today. So first and foremost, I have a SQL server running here in the background using SQL Server 2017, and I'm connecting to this via the SQL Server Management Studio here. Create a basic database for an Umbraco project here, and I connected that up via VS Code, and I'm running the actual Umbraco here by using a .NET run command, if I can find that somewhere. Yeah, I can't find that. There's a lot of information that's been added, but yeah, I essentially it's just running using a .NET run command. And then from there I had access to this Umbraco section here where I added in the details for my SQL server and then also added in my own password and stuff. And then from there, I went in and created a home document type, and here I created some basic properties, just so that the user could make the most of the CMS and enter their own information. So I asked them to enter a title, some information from the hero, and if we have a look here, you can see this is the page I've got. So it's running on a local host on port 44350, and yeah, it's this is the hero section here. So for instance, we've got construction services in Peterborough. So I created the really basic construction service or construction company page, just a mock construction company, it's not a real company. And I made a little logo as well just to make it a bit interesting. And then it's just got a very simple one-page layout, nothing too fancy. It's just really to get a chance for me to get my hands on the Umbraco CMS and get a feel for how things are running. So as you can see here, construction service in Peterborough. So if I go to the content section here, go to home, and let's just say I changed it to Lincoln, which is where my mother's from, and go back here, and now you can see it's changed to Lincoln. So let's just put that back to Peterborough. So the user has full control as they would in any other CMS, but the beauty of this really is that it also gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of really being able to get in there and change a lot of things, where in WordPress you would otherwise have to use plugins to get the same level of functionality. And that's what I really actually quite like about this CMS. It's really interesting. For instance here, if you want to signpost the user, if you're building a site for a user and you want to signpost them as to what's going on, you can give them a bit of information here. You can make fields mandatory. So if I go to the services section here and remove it and try and publish it, it would say this is a required field. So if we go here and say services, and I change that to building services, apologies for my typing, and save that and publish it, we can now see we get this new level of flexibility. So that's pretty much it really. So in terms of the actual styling itself, in settings I created a style sheet, and I'm just using basic CSS. Now usually I use Sass when I'm doing any kind of styling, but I'm familiar with CSS as well, so I did some simple media queries, and it's also worth mentioning as well that this has been built in Bootstrap. So if we go to the templates, I'm running it from a master template, and this master template essentially contains a few scripts to pull in Font Awesome, Bootstrap, and then the favicons and the style sheet, and then a few titles and meta descriptions. Now, I didn't want to go too far with this, but in theory what I could have done is I could have gone to document types, created a composition, and then created an SEO tab where I could populate the meta fields and whatnot using, you know, using model generators. But I decided not to go that far. Really, this was just a proof of concept more than anything. So I didn't want to go too crazy with it. But so yeah, as you can see, it started in some basic CSS. I've just pulling in the Google Fonts API, and I've just chosen the Roberto. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but that font. And then I'm just doing a few, you know, I'm using a lot of flex. I really like flex. I use a lot of flex when I flex a lot in my CSS. And as I said, I've also used Bootstrap. So if I go to the home page, we can see in the master I'm pulling in the Bootstrap CDN, the most recent one, the minified version, and I'm rendering out the page, the home page here by rendering the body. I'm also rendering a header and a footer, and they are again using the model view controller rule in their own section. So the footer, very simple, is just here, and then a header again here. So it's a separation of concerns, and that's what I like about model view controller. It's quite important for me to have separation of concerns. Now I could have bundled the scripts and the CSS into the section just up here, but unfortunately recently they've changed the way they've done it. Now Umbraco 8 was quite simple. You just used a I forget what it's called now, but it's a way of packaging the system together, and you just essentially you do the using statement. You use this particular library, and then you pull in these, and then you package your links and scripts like that. But they've changed it recently in in version 9, where it's not as simple. And again, as this is more of a proof of concept and a study of how this works, I didn't want to go too crazy. I just wanted to have a nice simple front end. But yeah, I did use Bootstrap, so I've got the bundles and the JavaScript and all sorts of different things. So if we return back to the home page here, we can see that for instance I'm using containers and rows and columns where I'm defining, you know, how much space the column should take, and as such in a normal desktop view it would look like that, but then if we switch to a mobile view we can see that it kind of starts collapsing down on itself. So it's fully responsive as well. That's something which I pride myself on. I like to make things fully responsive. Then these basic links, as I say, it's just a one page site, so really these links just go to different sections of the page. Yeah, and these images as well, they're basically figures and fig captions and images nested within each other. So if we go to the home page section, we can see here that I'm using a figure. Inside the figure I'm using an anchor tag, which is holding the image information itself, and then a fig caption underneath it. Now I could have made these images, links and fig captions dynamic within the CMS itself, but again I wanted to keep it pretty simple really, and just get a grasp of how this felt. As a proof of concept though, I did make these areas here dynamic. So if we go to my home section here, we can see that I have an intro section title and intro section text, and that refers to these parts here. So building services, which I just demonstrated a minute ago, and then we also have info box 1 title, info box 1 description. So that's info box 1, there's the title, there's the description. So if I go back to the content section here and change the info box 1 title to architecture, building, and services, and construction services, and save that. When I return back to the front end, we can see now that that's added that dynamically. And the same holds true for this as well. So let me just quickly remove that because I liked it as it was before. So if we go back here, we can we have been offering unique and bespoke designs for building small, large, and huge alike. So and instead of huge, gigantic, for instance. I know it doesn't, in terms of copy, that doesn't read very well, but you know, you get the idea. It's a proof of concept. Now again, I could have made these icons you know, selectable by the user. So what I was planning to do was use the Font Awesome CDN, which I did pull in, and then I was going to use the Font Awesome icons to create a list view. So if I went into Home and go to Properties, I was going to basically do a list, a drop-down list, where the user could select a bunch of different icons from the Font Awesome CDN, and then that would populate itself in this section here. So for instance, if they chose I don't know, like if we go to Font Awesome, say if they were to choose, I don't know, like FA add, Faz FA add, if they were to choose that section, then they would get that icon appearing in here instead. But again, I just hard coded that because I knew how it worked. I knew it was it's more of a proof of concept. It could be done, but again, I wanted to give myself a few hours to build a page and learn the CMS as a proof of concept to myself, and to see if I could do it. Really, it was a good, nice little challenge. So yeah, that's pretty much it really. I think that pretty much covers most of it. As I say, my headers and footers are in their own sections. And it's just a really nice simple page. There's a couple of interesting animations as well. So if I go to styles, for instance, if the user was to hover over the image in the gallery section, there will be a transition where it takes 0.6 seconds or so, 600 milliseconds, or 600 milliseconds, or 0.6 of a second, where it will change the filter. It will add a filter, and it will make it a little bit less bright by 80%, and then it will just make it a little bit smaller by reducing its scale by about 10%, I guess. So, and in practice, that's what happens. So we get a little bit of darkness on the image, and it shrinks it. And these images work as well; they go to the correct places. I wanted to attribute the users correctly. So I was going to put this on a server, but I decided not to. Again, I just thought if I create this video, it would show a proof of concept more than anything. But yeah, so my thoughts on Umbraco is it's very flexible. I think with a lot more time and a lot more kind of hands-on, you know, getting my hands in this a little bit more, I'd be able to create something very unique. But I mean, to be honest, I threw this page together in a couple of hours, using some designs I found online as inspiration, and yeah, it was quite simple to put together really. As I say, I have a knowledge of Bootstrap, so creating responsive layouts for me comes very, very naturally. And yeah, it was a very, very simple process. So yeah, just want to say thank you for watching this video today. If you have any questions, just drop a message on my YouTube, on the video, or alternatively you can contact me. I actually have my own webpage just here, so it's bobbymcgrath.co.uk. You can go to contact and you can contact me just here. This site here was built on React. If you're interested, I've built a few different sites, so this is in React. I've also built a website, or a couple of different websites in WordPress as well. So there's also a WordPress website I built fairly recently. The server unfortunately is very slow. The server that I'm using it on, it's a little bit unreliable at times, but I guess with it being 6 o'clock, everyone's probably getting from home and logging in. But yeah, so there's a WordPress site as well. That was fully coded from start to finish, and this is my own little thing actually. So I just sell courses online basically. But yeah, so now that's another skill underneath my belt. So yeah, I'm really pleased about it, and I just appreciate you taking the time to watch it. And as I say, the GitHub code is available as well. I'm going to make it public, so if you want to copy it and have a bit of fun with it yourself, feel free to. Just make sure you have SQL Server installed and you're running it so that you can access the databases and update them as such. So thanks again. Hope you have a great day. Take care. Bye now.